Our chosen organisation is British Petroleum, otherwise known as BP. BP is one of the world's largest vertically integrated company, leading in international oil and gas, providing its customers with fuel for transportation, energy for heat and light, retail services and petrochemical products for everyday items. BP operates at the frontiers of the energy industry, using world-class assets, technology, capability and the know-how to meet energy needs and to deliver long-term value. BP has its headquarters in the UK and employs roughly 92,000 employees. The structure of BP. The most widely accepted theoretical approach towards the structure for BP is the prevailing oligopolistic market. The oligopolistic market works in the following way. High-cost producers sell all they can produce, while low-cost producers satisfy the remaining of the demand at current prices and cut back on production if needed. According to Edelman, the long-term marginal cost is a small fraction of the price of oil. Even when making considerable allowances for the future values of the resources used up today to support the higher price levels, the excess supply is restricted by a cartel. Econometric evidence on Saudi Arabia confirms the asymmetric behavior of the low-cost petroleum suppliers. The country restricts production in reaction to the negative demand shocks but does not expand production in response to positive ones, in order to sustain high prices. Industry analysis. BP competes in energy and utilities, the refining of oil and gas, marketing and distribution, and alternative energy sources. Chemicals. Basic and intermediate chemical and petrochemical manufacturing. Retail top competitors of BP are Chevron, Shell, Total and Exxon. BP oil suppliers for the European Union are North Africa, Nigeria, Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan. Issues of BP. BP has many environmental issues and has been assessed as one of the 10 worst corporations and faced charges and penalties on many issues which are as follows. Hazardous substance dumping on the Alaska North Slope, Texas City refinery explosion. In 2006, in August, BP shut down oil operations in Alaska due to corrosion in pipelines. Also in 2010, in Texas there was a city chemical leak. And in 20th of April 2010, stock decline and takeover speculations, BP announced a loss of 16.97 billion during the second quarter of 2010.
The competitive challenges for BP. The competitive challenges is to admittance and apply information to be at the border of science, supporting its advance and later to seize the breakthrough and relate them more swiftly than anyone else. In above mentioned way, BP feels science and business can proceed jointly and technology will carry on impelling growth and human advancement. But this cannot take place in isolation. BP will need the background of unwavering fiscal and dictatorial environment within which they can make a sustained investment for long-term advantage. So now, when the government comes into the equation, particularly in the capital-intensive chemicals industry. Porter's 5 forces for BP. The 5 forces in general are customers, suppliers, competitors, barriers to entry, and substitute. Buyer power. BP's customers are gas stations and end consumers. The buying power of the customer is moderate due to high level of competitiveness. It also has high switching cost. Suppliers. BP's suppliers include the companies that produce the equipment they use to refine oil into gas. Due to high demand in the industry, suppliers have high power. Rivalry within industries. BP competitors are other gas companies like Chevron, Shell and Exxon, as it is oligopoly in nature, which means high exit barriers. Barriers to entry. If we consider BP business as refining oil into gas and then selling the gas, the barriers are pretty huge, since any new entrants will need to create a refinery because the barriers to entry are high and hard to enter due to oligopoly market where firms hold high market share. Substitute. If electric cars become popular, then electricity might become a viable substitute for gasoline. At this point, there is hardly any real substitute for oil due to high production costs. Past analysis for BP. Political. The political sphere has huge influence on the running and management of British Petroleum. BP received intense pressure from both its home government in the UK and internationally. World energy markets are becoming more volatile due to the threat of geopolitical instability. Greater climate destabilizations from CO2 emissions are leading government to encourage more sustainable form of energy. The oil market is heavily regulated by regulatory bodies and processes due to the importance of product. Government and international representation ensure that competitiveness is maintained, that the ethics of the business remain intact. Politics is the main contributor for the public to ensure that companies such as BP remain above board and ensure the sincerity of the business that they are involved in. One could argue that politics is also influenced by business like BP. Another important factor to include under political heading is the effect of pressure groups. It is becoming more and more prominent that left-wing activist voices have started to carry influence through the work of such pressure groups as Greenpeace. Economic. International trade and monetary issues play a huge role in BP's performance. After the oil spill in 2010, BP image and performance were hugely damaged due to a reported $5 billion in losses. For the first time since 1992, the oil giant had spilled to a full year in the red. However, due to the global economic network, this huge loss was regained quite rapidly due to the global surge in oil. For the fourth quarter, the group posted a profit at replacement cost of 4.6 million in comparison to 3.5 million in previous year. This one shows the huge effect of the company has on BP, whether they be negative or positive. Cross-border taxation issues also affect BP due to the scale and diversity of the oil-producing countries.
Social factors affecting BP. The demographic changes in recent years have played a major role on BP. In 2010, China overtook the US by becoming the world's largest energy consumer. It can be argued that this contributed to the global economic recovery and the energy consumption to unprecedented highs. In 2010, there was not only a strong surge in the demand for different kinds of energy, but also led to the fastest rise in global carbon dioxide emissions since 1969. Measured by consumption of fossil energy sources, on the demand side, the highest growth rate of 5.6 was recorded since 1973. In addition, increased consumption was recorded in all regions of the world. Renewable resources are of paramount importance for now and in the future, with the newest members of the world economy, for example Brazil and India, playing a huge role in its importance and to ensure that their business is done in an environmentally friendly way. Much of the growth is coming from the OECD countries. These sources served 1.8 of the global energy demand. Since the oil spill of 2010, the Earth's population have become aware that we cannot just take from our planet, but we also must look after and give something back.
Technological. A wide range of technological development is needed and plays a large role in the performance of BP. As technology becomes more and more developed, BP has to keep up with the fast pace of the technology involved. Interestingly enough, the technological aspect and its influences is an advantage and a disadvantage to BP. The positive being that with improved technology, a more efficient business is created and standards remain high. However, as technology improves, so does the attitude towards oil. A prime example of this is the introduction of electric cars, solar panels and photovoltaic panels, which act as eco-friendly and more efficient way to create energy in contrast to oil usage. A rise in oil prices will cause consumers to choose other way to get the needed energy. The development of renewable energy is therefore an important component of the leading energy producer. BP is an energy company, and the social expectation of BP it proceeds in an eco-friendly way, giving heed to the advances in the technological sector.
Strengths of BP. BP is a well-known brand and being one of the leading players in the energy market. BP is making big investments in advanced technology and the exploration in an eco-friendly way. The proof is that BP has invested $4 billion in alternative energy. The three ways in which BP is supporting transition to a low-carbon economy are: firstly, by improving their energy efficiency within their own operation, as well as developing more efficient products such as BP Ultimate and Castrol lubricants. Secondly, by using internal costs of carbon when making investment decisions about fossil fuel projects. This will encourage investment in technology and reduce the carbon that they produce. Thirdly, by promoting the low-cost energy pathways to reduce carbon emissions. One example of this is using natural gas for power generation. This is the cleanest burning fossil fuel and is also versatile, efficient and abundantly available. Weaknesses of BP. Some of BP's strengths are also their weaknesses. To find replacement supplies for oil and gas requires constant search and exploration in the high-cost element of BP's operations. The high emissions from the process of refining oil, especially with the technique from burning gas from oil and extracting sats as a way of dealing with unwanted byproducts, is seen by some as environmentally unacceptable. The most relevant, without a doubt, of BP's biggest weakness is the very weak management and safety. The BP has incurred massive financial losses for the company and ruined their reputation in Alaska and the Mexican Gulf, as well as the Texas refinery explosion.